Welcome to Davos Lodge. It is my pleasure to introduce Alexandros Exarchou, right?
Yeah, okay. Exactly, yes.
And he is the chairman and CEO of the Actor Group. We just had an amazing conversation back in the back, and so it's my pleasure. I'm Rhett Power from Forbes, and let's talk about Europe, and let's talk about what you think Europe needs to do in this time of turmoil and economic turmoil, political turmoil. What do you think Europe's next step is? That's a big question, I know.
It is. We started the discussion earlier telling you that very recently we were involved as actor to what we called, yes. We were involved as actor to what I call the vertical corridor, LNG, US LNG coming to Greece, then from Greece northwest to various countries in the vertical corridor, on the back of long-term agreements of LNG. So everybody, after this we had a PTEC, American secretaries were present, European minister was, present, but not very willing to be shown at the time. And we had various criticisms from European countries that this effort of long-term LNG US in Europe will be very expensive. And what this made me believe at the time was that sometimes in Europe we are not serious. We decided, as Europeans, European Union decided recently to impose sanctions to Russia and make trade of Russian LNG, Russian gas, illegal in Europe, starting 2028. If that's the case, and if the European states as a whole and European Union really intends to apply this sanction, and then after 2028, the necessities in Europe in terms of gas will be satisfied either by US LNG or LNG from Qatar. That's the two sources that I know capable of satisfying the necessities of European Union in terms of physical gas. Mm-hmm. If that happens, the comparison between the price in Russian gas today and the price that we are negotiating currently for long-term agreements doesn't exist because you don't know what is cheaper and more expensive. The one is not available, the other one is. That's one thing. And the second thing is that one would expect all countries in Europe to be very willing to enter in long-term agreements, either with us or somebody else, because they need to secure quantities. The problem one would expect the European Union to have after 28, when Russian gas will not be available in Europe, is to secure necessary quantities from either US or Qatar. So long-term agreements satisfy both of these elements. A, you secure adequate quantities, and you secure price at the time that is still, there is a sort of competition. The risk that is taken from the side of, let's say, the US producer that accepts the long-term agreement is the price. Because he cannot take advantage of the fact that after 2028, he may be in a position to increase the price because of the availability of the quantities. What I want to say is that when Europe decides on something, all countries, all member states, so when we take a serious decision as European Union to impose sanctions to a country like Russia, in order for anyone to believe us, we need to act accordingly. Do we really want to impose sanctions? Do we mean what we say? All of us, all 27 states. So my understanding of European Union is that the time has come to decide what we want to be. Do we want to be a federation? Do we be a country? If so, we need to have common economic interest, common army, an army. We have to be able to defend ourselves. Do we want that? That means that member states will lose their sovereignty to some extent. Are we prepared to do that? If not, we need to accept that and act accordingly. I.e., every single member state must take the steps necessary to protect itself in view of the fact that we don't have a federation. If we, all of us, all 27 states, decide that we need to have the attributes of a state, we need to accept to give to whatever is European Union the sovereignty necessary to take decisions.
Is that possible? And I think the time is now for that decision, isn't it?
Yeah,
You're
we're
being
now
forced. I mean,
forced.
you're being forced to that decision. And is that possible, do you think?
Possible, I don't know it is. When we are forced to decide it. I think we don't have the luxury anymore to play this game of appearing to be a sovereign state, appearing to have a federation, where in practice we don't. And I will remind you what had happened 10 years ago with Greece and several other states of the South, when they were in need of financial support. And rightly, a lot of Northern European states were saying, why? Why should I pay for you? I don't. So protect yourself, find a way, do whatever it needs to be done to survive, but I'm not going to continue paying for you. Why should I do that? Which I understand. It is fair to the extent that Greece, Spain, Portugal, Ireland would know in advance that they need to take these steps to protect themselves. Now we're talking about military powers. We're talking of possible wars in Europe. We have been accustomed for many years, decades, to believe that war will not happen in Europe. But we are now faced with that prospect, and we are utterly unprepared.
Well, you already have one.
Yes,
That's-
indeed. But even when we had one 3 years ago, in our doorstep, we relied on Americans, in practice, to have a war against the Russians through Ukraine. Now we don't like the fact that the Americans are asking us to pay for this. Nobody does. Nobody likes it, but it's reality. It happens every day. I mean, in business at least, in as far as I'm concerned, I have fought with my competitors every day in life. And on this competition, the strength is the rule. Whoever is the stronger prevails in practice. So as the Canadian, I read the Canadian Prime Minister's speech today, which in my opinion was one of the most interesting things I have read ever since I read some speeches of Churchill in England during the war, where he said, and I really thought it was a perfect analogy. He says, if you don't manage to be on the table, you're on the menu. And this is something that we have missed in Europe the last few decades. We need to create these attributes of the European Union that allows it to be on the table at equal leverage with the big boys. And big boys, what are the big boys? China, US, Russia. To the extent that European Union is not able to sit on the table, big problem. It's on the menu.
Is Russia really in the equation, you think?
It is because of the fact that Europe is weak, if you ask me. Because both Russia and the United States currently, what they do, they are actually looking at Europe and say, you don't have an army. We can impose on you what we can, and you as weak party, you must suffer what you must. Again, something that I picked up from Canadian Prime Minister today, which I very much liked. Is that the rule of the game we want to play? It is not a matter of whether we like it or not. We are forced to be faced with a question, and I think Europe, for the first time, needs to react, because if it doesn't react, if it doesn't answer this very basic and everyday question that all of us have when we do business, all of us when we negotiate, and we negotiate every day in business, we need to realize with whom we are talking to. If, for instance, Actor sits down and speaks with Bechtel, which is 20 times bigger and stronger company, okay, he will negotiate knowing that somebody else is far stronger than him, that Actor, and will attempt to get as much as it can until such time, by winning every time something, reach the stage to become Bechtel. And if it never becomes Bechtel, It will take whatever protection it needs to protect itself from vector and maintain some share in the market. So whatever is done by every business in the world, European Union needs to decide to do it now.